See the full animated short at playoverwatch.com.
Welcome back to HGC, where Team Freedom is on their last chance this series to try and figure out how to get a victory over Superstars.
Well, I casually leave my water bottle in the corner of the table. Yeah.
Nobody saw.
No. Yeah, they're trying to figure it out, and I'm going to be honest, I don't personally feel they have the tools, just because we have seen them to be rather stubborn, is the word I'm going to throw there, when it comes to adjusting their draft to be able to meet what is the meta. And sadly but surely, there is a reason the meta is the meta, and it's typically because it's the most forgiving way to play the video game. And they just don't seem to have the individual prowess to really overcome more standard play that we see out of North America so far.
The nice thing for Freedom is, should they lose to Superstars here in this series, they have an entire week to try to get things figured out. They're not playing again tomorrow. But the difficult thing, the bad news for Freedom, is they're playing versus Superstars on Braxis. Chosen by Superstars, this is probably the most likely that Freedom is going to face some sort of niche, crazy, weird, wild pick from Superstars. We've seen Cho'Gall from Superstars here. We've seen Zul'jin. Granted, though, Freedom also played Zul'jin here. A lot of NA teams have played Zul'jin on Braxis, as it turns out. But I would be most scared going into Braxis holdout as Freedom, knowing that anything goes for Superstars.
Another thing we have to consider, though, is like the fact that Superstars is pretty clean 2-0 right now. You know, things weren't that crazy. There was almost never a moment past level 10 in both those games where it was like, is Superstars going to risk it all here, right? So if I'm Superstars and I'm competing in this situation, I just go, we're just going to do the same thing. Why mix it up? There's no reason to show anything else here. But you're right, they could. They are the most prone to.
Yeah, what I would think is it would be, if any mix-up came in, it would be something they played before, something that they have shown that people know anyway, that is always a possibility for them. If they're just like, we're just going to stomp through. We're going to make sure that we finish here.
Morales banned out. Superstars now figuring out what they want to remove, if they want to get rid of the Tassadar or the Zarya or neither.
Yeah, I liked that choice from Freedom to try to change things here with the bans. It almost guarantees, it does guarantee them to get one of the shielders, which favors them a lot.
What I would like to see is, I wouldn't ban it out of support because then you force a ban. You ban the TAS, or an Arthas. You ban out the Arthas here, I think, and then the minute that you see the first pick on the side of Freedom going to the Tassadar or the Zarya, one of the two, then you consider just going back into the false side to Haka, run a double global pressure on the solo lane up on top and look for the global, or just ban the Zul'jin. That seems out of place.
If Vala's not picked up here, I think it'll be Shielder plus Vala for Superstars now.
Just go into the TAS Vala. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the TAS Vala makes a lot of sense. There it is. The standard that we saw out of part 1. Anytime a team could get their hands on those two picks, they very much went for it. It's not going to change here in part 2. Solo laner, all globals, still up. I really want to see Freedom prioritize something like that, but again, it just doesn't fit their style. Like, it would just be something like an ETC Tychus here.
Yeah, Ariel. I was going to say Freedom likes to have Ariel plus someone to enable. With Vala out of the equation and Zul'jin, why that was even a better ban for Superstars to take out Zul'jin. Team Freedom were left to Lunara. So Lunara, Ariel, Zarya to try to put the hurt on, the poisoning on Superstars.
So now what does Superstars fear? They've already got the battery, for Ariel. Zarya, there is a front line that they want to rid of. Now would be the appropriate time to do it. Or again, if they do not want to run the strong solo like a Dahaka themselves, now that would be a really appropriate ban for them as well. Historically, though, for Superstars, now that they have the Volatas, I mean, they just went with very, standard picks across the board. Insert strong warrior here, insert decent top laner there, and then just be very confident into your 4-man. Don't do anything too crazy.
I'm really inquisitive as to what this ban is going to be for Superstars. Arthas ban, support ban, most likely for Freedom here?
I would pull away.
Gul'dan?
It's mainly just because unless you really are afraid of the Malfurion and the CC he provides, that's the only one I would have looked to ban out there. just because both of those are such a high priority heroes within their roles that by banning one out, you're only hurting your opponent like a fraction.
I see.
Versus hitting a role that you know that they need more. If you can remove that by what you've already picked up, you actually set them that much farther back, even though they aren't considered stronger than the Lucio or Malfurion objectively.
What do you think of the Gul'dan ban?
It makes it shows that Freedom is very concerned about their 4-man. That they want 100%. They want to win the 4, and into a Tasvala, that's a relatively large task. But having that pseudo trinity that we know to be so powerful between Ariel, Zarya, and then insert whatever battery there, which this time is going to be Lunara.
I don't think Superstars won on Gul'dan at all.
I agree, but it doesn't change the fact that I can see the thought process behind it. It does not make sense to overcommit that much. Once you have the Tasvala, they have a lot of wave clear on their own survivability poke. All you want is any kind of kill potential and just, again, those very standard in their roles, which is what we see from Superstars with that ETC Malf.
Just because you have to have warrior support top laner. So I was like, who would go in? But anyway, Team Freedom now, 2 picks left. Still need a warrior for Zugrug. ETC is not available, neither is Arthas. What does Zugrug like to play here if he can't get his hands on ETC? Could be a Johanna.
Yeah, man, a Johanna would not provide much to this comp. I really don't want to see it, but again, comfort matters more than anything, it feels like, to Freedom.
Well, if that's the case, it'll be Diablo or Johanna.
Come on.
Murden,
nice,
okay.
I like it a lot. So the Murden over that, and then the Dahaka for the strong solo. I do like that Freedom got the Dahaka. I was surprised at the lack of focus that Superstars put onto the solo after already having a convincing 4-man in that Tasvala rotation. So now they have to look at what they consider the proper response into Freedom in that Dahaka solo. With Ragnaros so weak, but it is a map where Ragnaros can work. Again, he's going to be best on 2-lane maps.
What else? What solo laner can keep up with Dahaka? Are there any?
Not really. Like, Leora can wave clear a little bit, but Dahaka just burrows in whenever you hit your W on him, so you don't trade well into him. You don't lose that hard, but you wave clear and lose it slowly. Sonya is one that's okay. Other than that, he just, right now, with Ragnaros being nerfed, he was the best before. He is convincingly the best now.
I wonder if it's Thrall. Chin.
Placeholder, really, for the top lane. Interesting choice. Not a huge fan of the Chen, but I can see why they want him up there, to be able to just not lose hard and then put more emphasis onto the 4. But I will say I kind of like Freedom's draft. I don't like it better because the Volatas into the ETC Malf is very standard and their 4-man's so good. But if you kind of remove the names from these drafts, I just purely off that last pick Chen and how lackluster that'll be to the laning matchup, I actually kind of like Freedom a lot more. But I feel like Superstars volunteered to that. It wasn't like an outplay in the draft.
Yeah, it almost felt like Goku was saying, I'll pick last depending on what the solo laner is, the volunteering that you're saying.
Yeah.
So that gives me more hope for Superstars as well as the momentum that they have.
I mean, I think they're the better team.
Yeah.
But I'm just going purely off of the draft and like what that Chen really doesn't do more than what he does do to this game makes me feel like, you know, I would naturally lean towards Freedom's draft if I didn't know the teams.
There are a lot of ways to be able to stun out Chen from being able to drink fortifying brew in the middle of a fight. So the focus is there. Do we see something like Stormworth Fire? Is he just going to dive in on Lunara if that's the protection?
My fear would be that it's going to be Barrel, and it's going to be with the attempt to isolate the Lunara, especially with only having Ariel.
That's a slippery target, though, to try to push to your team.
But then you have no cleanse to be able to help that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's Ariel, so she'll suddenly become more vulnerable, but then you just Sleeping Strike, and then you're a sad panda, literally, at that point in time.
And there's always Aegis, too.
Yeah.
By some time to where he just has to back off. Yeah.
Storm, Earth, and Fire just gets obliterated with Splintered Spear. You just throw one Q down and one auto attack and then W, and everything is almost dead already.
Well, it's Lunara versus Chin, Dryad versus Panda as we head into game number 3 between Superstars and Team Freedom.
Oh, man. But the Zarya, more Superstars, I don't know. They have such a standard old-school draft minus the Chen that it's hard to say no to for a team that looks like they are the better team here. So I still feel like this is kind of a mountain to climb for Freedom to come back here in this series. Not only because of the momentum, but just Superstars looks clean, man. They look like they have grown as a group. As you said, the most improved team out of Part 1 in North America.
Yeah, you know, I talked to Iacona a little bit before this match, and he said that he felt they would be confident going into this matchup. They did take a break over the break between Part 1 and Part 2, and in that amount of time, they played versus Freedom in the Maelstrom event that went on, and he said we technically won the games, but there were some times when Freedom looked ahead and looked like they might be able to win them, but he did say that was right after they had taken a break. So they came in, they felt pretty confident about that. Since then, they have been playing a lot, so a lot of confidence, and it shows in their play so far in the series.
I like that. It was, you know, we technically
won.
It's like, yeah, we got their core down before ours, but do we deserve it is a completely different thing. And honestly, to be a top competitive team, you have to have that mentality. You can't always look at every win as that makes you the better team, nor does it mean you had the better composition. It's whether or not you did everything proper, and if your opponent didn't make any detrimental mistakes that a better team would not. And that's why it's so hard to gauge how good are you really. You know, you have to be absurdly hypercritical of yourself.
I have such high hopes for Superstars too. We had high hopes for Freedom too, and we continue to. And especially after this series, seeing what kind of adjustments they can make before next weekend.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, is what adjustments will come out from Freedom. If we see none, I mean, I feel like those hopes will be slowly withering away. Just purely based on the fact that we've known historically any team that is going to try and put their meta above what the international or even what their regional is rarely succeeds past, I mean, I think the highest I've ever seen that would be like 4th place within their region.
I think SPT is probably the best example. I remember going into BlizzCon last year. They were playing Zagara Split Push, and it was just a direct counter, right? And a lot of the things that Chinese meta is known for, Entertainment Strike, thrown out. But Zagreb has Dwarf Toss to jump away. Beacons have started.
For now, it looks like control on bottom is going to go over to Superstars. Top is still the wet noodle fight of Chen versus Dahaka, the wave clear, versus the shielding brew. Conclusion not going to connect when it comes to his detainment strike to set up the kill there. There goes the power slide, the root follow-up. Can they get a kill? Nasmus not making it out. First blood.
Oh, Dahaka even burrowed down to this too. That gives Chen a little bit of free reign in the top lane for now. And he's going to try to clear out the waves as fast as he can to push in and maybe make Freedom miss some of that experience.
Follow-up route once more. Zugrug still has the Dwarf Toss. Both are going to be captured by Superstars though. So the percentage is moving upward here for Superstars in Game 3. Freedom has to, you know, they've got to make big plays here if they want to stay alive in this series.
Let's take this moment to talk Tassadar for a second. He has had quite a few changes, still picked here. We've seen a lot of bans, so still feeling like even with the nerf to duration of his plasma shield, still feeling like he is a strong pick and contender for some of these first pick heroes. Not getting Kadarian Residence, even though this is a good battleground to get some regen globes, instead getting Sight and Fusion. So amping up the damage, you can finish that quite quickly when you're defending versus the Zerg.
I really like this talent as long as you're confident in your other support on your team to be able to sustain through the DPS of everybody else. I actually love this into the double W at 16. Originally, actually, even before all the nerfs and everything like came in, I personally felt that this one was a little undervalued. I understood with the insane amount of armor that you could give everyone why it wasn't the go-to, but I did feel it had a time and a place that wasn't totally respected. And now since he's seen the changes, especially considering the map, I think it's a beautiful level 1 to pick up here for Hosty. And then the damage increase that you can see at the 16 mark once that is completed is huge. Power slide onto Collusion is going to be fine for now.
Rotation of Muradin to the top lane. Seeing or feeling like Superstars had the better hold of the bottom lane. Freedom sends Muradin up. And they've done a good job of this first phase. You know, they've kept up with experience. They didn't let that one kill get them down. They're neck and neck with the beacon progress. And they're looking towards 7. Superstars slightly closer to that.
Ikona's in a tough spot. The burrow could happen eventually in that Shrub. I thought for sure Dahaka might be looking to make that happen, as there is no interrupt from Chen. There's nothing that can get the stop there. Both channels are here for Freedom.
Yeah,
70.
It seems like the better choice was to stay top so that he could keep a hold of that.
Yeah,
beacon.
yeah. If they don't need it, you know, why make the rotation? I just thought they would look for that kill potential, but they are winning this 4-man so effectively with that Lunara Ariel that they have secured 100 to 56% in the HP on the Zerg Rush.
Splintered Spear for Lunara over getting Nature's Culling to help with defending. But even still, it will help with defense in its own way. Getting Splintered Spear, both teams trying to defend the Zerg rushes from taking out too many of their structures. Taking a look at some of the other talents. Not multi-shot build for Vala.
Said moving into double or passive or more auto attack focus with the reset there on the 7 and the increased bonus damage. That's something you typically see on Infernal Shrines if you're going to see an alternative build. It's not everywhere, and it's kind of strange into a double warrior to see that direction. It's usually when you have a squishier backline that you know you can do very well into with a vault into one auto attack proc, get the reset, move in, get another insane burst onto a target.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's Manticore focused. They're going to get that at 16 to try to chunk down some of the warriors of Team Freedom. We'll have to see. But that does mean, you know, you don't have the cooldown reduction if there's some heroes hit with multi-shot. So relying more on Moonburn to help out, Tassadar's build as well to help out in clearing out the Zerg Rush. And there's Echo Pedal too.
Echo Pedal is one of my favorite talents on ETC. Anytime I can take that thing, I just go for it. And no matter what your lane matchup is, there's that nice little bonus damage. It suddenly makes you possibly be able to get a kill, especially late game if anybody's on their own, you know, just that small tick of damage, and just with your wave clear, benefits everybody. Superstars is just going to pick up their camp respectively. Everybody's kind of playing patient. You know, again, with North America not drafting very many siege-focused compositions, they seem to be very passive in the downtime in between objectives.
Yeah, there is a lot more focus on getting heroic abilities here. Superstars were maybe going to invade, but Team Freedom picked up the camp fast, and it's a scary moment. Freedom is ahead, closer to heroic abilities. If something had gone wrong, if one pick had been gotten, Team Freedom would have been able to get those heroic abilities and try to turn the fight even more so to their favor. So Superstars just playing it safe until they can get the heroic abilities caught back up.
Oh.
Zagrug, though, jumps in. Stormbolt connects. Srey trying to buy time for Faye to get out of here.
Yeah, that interrupted Faye's face vault as well, so I thought for sure that might be the opportunity for Freedom to get a pick. But without the follow-up CC, they're really it's only Ariel who can follow up, and she is not a dependable follow-up.
Thornwood Vine.
Risky play. Nah, really, just if Chen moves into barrel now, it is a very, very... she's going to force the Aegis and then is very susceptible to just getting picked off. Zarya and Ariel are going to have to do a lot if we see barrel picked up to keeping her alive. Yeah. Chen's holding on.
The Vine also does a lot. It's even easier to do a lot of poison damage to Storm, Earth, and Fire if they're grouped up. So I definitely thought we would not see that, but we're going to see it. It's Panda Pals all day.
Storm, Earth, and Fire. Locked in. It does provide the second HP bar pretty much across the board for Goku. And it allows you to dive onto the backline, but I feel like Lunara, just giving her that free damage to give free heals onto the Ariel is actually a worse trade. Goku gets a lot of damage. The stun on the Detainment Strike. He drinks.
Stormbolt going for it. Stormbolt, here comes grenades. That's full energy. Dansky too. But it's enough to get Goku out. Nasmus was focusing on bringing down health bars of the rest of Superstars too. And all the while, Insomnia grabs the beacon top. The stronger 4-man holds onto the beacon bottom, and this is looking better and better for Team Freedom.
It is, and there goes the stage dive. Storm Earth and Fire is going to be used. Repulsion Zone is dropped as well. Hosty there with the Archon, wailing away. Dansky gets the heals. Everybody falling pretty low right now for Freedom. Dansky gets the Aegis there. Nasmus trying to put out the damage, helping the Ariel. Goku comes back, gets a Tash Shield. Detainment Strike on the Faye, and everybody just looks like they make it out. No, Zugrug goes in, hits the Stormbolt, says goodnight. Faye is going to have 20-second timeout.
Everyone from Superstars was very split up in that fight, and Twilight Dream never used her favorable spot for Iacona to find that. And just the act of getting into the fight, Superstars never were able to take one of the beacons before they got into the fight. So on the back of that, Team Freedom are now rushing in toward the keep structures with a very full Zerg rush now barreling down on the towers.
Yeah, Freedom is really, you know, I didn't think they had the tools. I did like their draft a bit more than Superstars, but I just didn't give it to them with the skill as a group. And right there, once more, proving me wrong with the Chain CC. Able to get the pick off there onto Sray, and now they're going to be able to pick up this keep. That's 10-minute keep. Suddenly, Freedom is fighting back.
13-11. In the lead versus Superstars for the first time this series. So now we see, have the adjustments that Superstars brought into part 1 getting behind and able to recover? Are they still present after the break? That'll be the big question for us, seeing if Superstars can still close out the series despite being down on a battleground they chose.
Yeah, their composition does not have a late game spike that would kind of lean towards it's okay, wait for that moment, and they'll be able to come back. So there's going to be just pure mechanical outplay and rotations for Superstars if they can make a comeback here in this game. Chen still on bottom, trying to rid of some of the catapults, and Freedom trying to make sure that they get an upper hand here, ridding of the fort. And that is going to only further not only the experience advantage, but more importantly, the structure advantage for the Zerg Rush and the vision control they're going to have over Superstars.
To give a shout out to Insomnia, except for that one burrow in that we questioned earlier on because he did miss out on some experience and didn't get the kill, he has been so frustrating for Superstars to deal with as that Dahaka, just constantly pressuring, getting a mercenary camp here, making Superstars not stay together and keeping Freedom ahead with this experience advantage they've obtained.
I'm surprised at just how patient this mid-game has been for Freedom. I mean, I guess now, right, as I say that, they look to try and make something happen, but with Superstars is just sitting back in their base. Like, so then if you know you have that control, the minute you see that, Freedom should be just doing exactly what they're doing, but commit with a 5-man. Dahaka go up there as well. ETC's on bottom. If he stage dives in, it's a winning trade for you. You can get rid of this front wall, enable your Zerg Rush that much faster. But these teams very much don't want to take any risk where they might be able to throw away their lead.
Superstars have a small amount of time, though, where they have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, now that they're on the same talent tier, this is it. They've got that 80%, you know, more so 90, I guess, of experience that Team Freedom needs to be able to hit that 16 power spike. They know where they're at. They know they've got to be on the camp. Dahaka is shown on to bottom.
ETC trying to clear out those camps so he can come in and engage with the rest of the team. Goku spots some of Team Freedom.
Donkey Kong build is now online as you see him throwing all those long-range barrels to try and get the slow. It's a bit of the struggle of Chen, really. He's got a really good chase, but not good hard engage. Propulsion zone, it's got to be used. Stage dive as well. They're going in. Storm Earth Fire actually gets how it goes. Sray ends up power sliding.
The Tainment Strike was really good. Crystal Aegis buys time for Zugrug to get right back in and get away from Brain of Vengeance. Faye throws out another one, but ETC is in trouble. Sray is going to be likely the first to fall. Zugrug turns around, blasts down ETC with a Storm Bolt that has been enhanced with Perfect Storm, and now once again, Superstars are on the run.
And not only that, they have so much pressure for Freedom on the map right now. Beautiful route there from Iacona. Not going to get the mount up. Goku trying to throw out the barrels to peel off, but I think one slow. Oh, no, Iacona should be able to make it out here, but those camps were pushing bottom and top the entire time, only furthering Freedom's advantage. It looks like they might be able to lock it in here after this Zerg Rush because this keep should be easy pickings.
Gets burned down. Superstars going to go for the desperate fight. At this point, their options are super limited. Yes, they're 13 versus 16, but if they have the Zerg Rush plus the members of Team Freedom, that keep can only sustain through so much.
We're about to find out. It's going to be stomping down here soon through top. Little Zerglings moving in. Going to take the damage. Man, Superstars has to wait until the Zerg Rush moves in and then look to collapse behind. They do it very early, so they'll take a bit more free damage than they want. Expulsion Zone is there to try and force the fight. Goku gets the dash out. Aegis going to be dropped, but Srey falling so low. Here is going to be the first pick. Zugrug lands that Stormbolt onto Iacona. He drops the Ice Block, not able to get the, oh no, a Twilight Dream even available. Faye dies as well, and now Freedom here is able to get their first win in this series, 1-2 against Superstars.
Superstars just could not get through any of the health bars of Team Freedom with the tanky Warriors plus Zarya shields. They had Ariel with a battery of Lunara too, dishing out constant damage, but the start of that fight, the stage dive came in, Stormworth Fire wasn't available, and neither was Archon. So a lot of the tools to defend, not there for Superstars, and Freedom stays in it.
They do stay in it. I talked a lot about I was surprised at the lack of emphasis onto the solo in that draft, and the Dahaka made it almost to the very last rotation, and we saw very quickly because nobody can really match him, and they went into the Chen to be, you know, trying to placeholder and deal with him. Just how poorly it worked out. Like, Chen's provided near nothing to a majority of those team fights. He just didn't totally get bodied in lane.
Is there anybody you felt would have worked better for the team?
Ragnaros always would be. I mean, it stops the bleeding on any huge rush. You can wave clear decently into him, and even hitting one Sulfuras smash usually is more effective than what Chen can do in a fight almost always.
Even with so many stuns on the other side, with resilient flame nerfs, you still would have liked Ragnaros better?
Over Chen, for sure. It just is like, Chen not even once type deal. Like, it's just, there's a very, very small situation where I would suggest him, and that was nowhere near it.
Chen versus Artanis, go. Which one?
Chen.
There you go. That's how much we don't like Artanis over here.
More maybe, yeah.
Yes, all right. We're heading into a break. We'll see if Freedom can continue this momentum going into Game 4. We'll see you then.
The most important thing I've learned in all my journeys is